before I put Melodeath.
I will. Melodeath is now trash. Oh, anyways, so we're on. Um,
Okay, Patrick thinks Melodeath is trash, apparently.
Melodeath is trash.
Uh,
So,
that varies widely.
so we have been. Nick has dragged me into his interpretation of metal genre's tier list, which is apparently going to be. We're now going to try to be objective and
Yes,
very critical about this. And
yes. We should be objective because no one gives a shit what we think. People give a shit on what's probably the closest to the truth, at least our interpretation of what is closest to the truth.
okay,
I don't think you guys care what our favorite genres are.
okay. Well, anyways, we're gonna argue about. You already know what it is, okay? Everyone knows what these tier lists are, and we're just going to rank the different metal genres into these tiers, and we're going to try to be objective about it. We made this
And we're
tier
gonna fight.
list because all the tier lists I have seen of like metal genres um, either have not enough or too many genres. So we decided what genres we felt appropriate to include, and made our own list. And we're going to post it in the comments so that you can make your own version of this. Um, but we're going to fight a lot. All right. So first of all, actually, before we get this started, before we go through this in chronological order, there's two tiers which are just going to have one genre each. First of all, um, S tier, we have agreed beforehand, is only going to include heavy metal, traditional heavy metal.
Let's be real here. That genre gave us Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Motorhead, and Judas Priest. Those four bands alone are enough to be every single thing. Iron Maiden themselves could be every single other band on this list. So
Motorhead is not better than like okay. So Merciful Fate. If you had said Merciful Fate, I could see what you're saying there.
no,
But
these are
Motorhead
the
is
big
just
four of British
consistent.
heavy metal.
Okay, but Motorhead is just consistent and all right. And they were important. They were an important step in the development of metal.
Okay, fine. Merciful Fate goes in that genre too, but Merciful Fate's probably first wave of black metal anyway.
They're
So
both. They
sure.
count for both.
Now, the one thing we need to address before we get back in is the aching question that has been being asked since the last episode of Dialectic Chaos.
Oh,
Why was I holding a screwdriver?
yeah. Why were you holding a screwdriver?
Because it was on my desk and I like to fiddle with things.
You
So
had an
today,
entire week to come up with a more interesting lie than that.
there wasn't an interesting line. I'm giving you the truth. So I'm looking for something today that I'm going to fiddle with. It seems my usual things have disappeared. We've got a little container that holds a razor blade that has a little flippy box thing that I like to fiddle with. There's the screwdriver, which I can't seem to find. So today it will be a stapler.
Ah, gotcha. But
Miscellaneous office supplies.
a quick clarification. For some reason, because this is the way Nick wanted it set up, there's going to be genres in D tier that I like significant amounts of stuff from, for some reason, and that a lot of people like significant amounts of stuff from, because that's
Yes.
just what it's got to be. Um,
Well, we're ranking the genres, not the bands. You know, if this were a bands tier list, I mean, bands from new metal would be an A tier. But new metal's terrible as a whole. You know,
but I
so
thought you were ranking the genres based on their greatest bands.
well, it has to do with how good the greatest stuff is, how much actual greatness there is, general influence, as well as
Average
just
quality, does that matter to you?
yeah, average quality. Yes,
Because you know the genre with the highest average quality.
thrash metal.
No, 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 no. There's tons of trash thrash metal. There's way more. It's way easier to just find. I mean, either thrash metal bands are great or they're trash, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Um, Whereas in death metal, there's a huge abundance of bands which are just good. They're just solid.
There's a huge abundance of bands that sound identical to one another.
There are, and there are also a huge abundance of bands that sound different to one another. I think death metal is the most diverse genre. except
Not if you
prog
take
metal,
tech death out.
except for prog metal.
If you take tech death out, and which we did, death metal is not the most diverse genre. We've separated melodic death metal and we've separated technical death metal and we've separated death doom. So you've got the genre of death metal is a bunch of people trying to copy Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse.
That is not true. Autopsy sounds very little like Morbid Angel, except that they're both chromatic and stuff.
Well, anyway, let's
Yes,
go
we
through
got to
them
go through this list.
chronologically.
Before we go through that, we're going to have a second genre which has only one, a second tier which has only one genre in it, and that is deathcore. Because deathcore is absolute trash. It is the worst genre of metal
It has
by
no redeeming
far. It
qualities.
has no redeeming quality. And we are not counting bands like Zabalba here or Disgrace that combine death metal with hardcore because for some reason they're not considered deathcore normally. They're considered death metal slash hardcore. We mean like, you know what we mean. Suicide Silence, Waking the Cadaver, etc., etc. This is just noise,
I
basically.
couldn't name another one.
Okay,
That's how bad they are.
it's absolute crap. There's no sense of songwriting in it, and the breakdowns are not creative. It's just random dissonant shit or random dun 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 dun. Dun. It's really why people
Hey,
don't like metal.
Dennis.
It's what people think that metal is.
Yeah, deathcore is kind of the culmination of everyone from the 80s who hated metal and said metal was stupid and terrible and it was noise. Yeah, deathcore is kind of telling those people, "Hey, listen to this. This is how you know you're right." When all those metalheads tried to argue with you, "No, that's not what it sounds like. Here, listen to this." Now you have something to say, "But what about this?" And then you put on Suicide Silence, and then every metalhead's argument, "No, that's not what metal is officially invalid because now there is apparently legitimate metal that's extremely popular that sounds exactly like what these dumb people were trying to say
So yeah, deathcore's horrible. Um, and facts don't care about your feelings when it comes to deathcore being horrible. Um,
or ever.
so now we're going to go through this list. Um, and starting off extremely strong here with Tech Death, which we have agreed includes bands like Gojira and Cynic, alongside Atheist and Den, and well, later Death anyway. And but it does not include stuff like Cryptopsy or Suffocation. Those bands are often considered tech death, but I consider them basically just more technical. I mean, it's just death metal. It's not a different genre from death metal. They're just playing at a higher level.
Yeah, that's likely the case.
Um, so tech death it has got to be A tier.
Yeah, I would say technical death metal certainly is in the top tier. It's definitely the probable best extreme metal genre. I mean, there's an argument for black metal, but there's also an argument for why black metal is terrible. So it's very difficult to argue about about the bad parts of tech death because tech death kind of means we're death metal, we can do whatever we want. Like you could be Gojira and write a song like Shooting Star and still be considered tech death. But then at the same token, you can be, Flesh God Apocalypse and radically just change your sound and put a bunch of crazy orchestration in your music and still be tech death. And then you get the other bands like Nile and crap like that where it just gets insane. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's so easy to push the limits of just music in general, which you find in stuff with like Obscura, not the band, the album. I'm not so much a big fan of the band, but I love Gorguts Obscura, Demilich ni Spintha. Um, Atheist is in my favorite bands, like top three definitely.
Yeah, Atheist definitely belongs towards the. I'm surprised you didn't mention them earlier, to be honest.
Yeah, well, Atheist. I thought it's implied. Atheist defined and invented this genre, so I figured it would be implied. Um, But then again, I guess a lot more people know about Later Death and Gojira than they do about Atheist. This is a shame.
Yeah, so just like the four bands that I feel are really defining here would be Gojira, Late Death, Cynic, and Atheist. They're definitely the most important bands. Again, Nile is also worth noting.
Yes. I think of Nile almost in that same category as Suffocation and Cryptopsy, though, where they're tech death just because they're playing harder, playing faster. It's
It
just,
really is all in the drums, man.
That's true.
Their drums are way more intense than any regular death metal band.
Cryptopsy?
Yeah,
I mean, but anyway, it's often hard to draw the line between tech death and regular death metal, but often the better a death metal band is, at least half of the time, the more tech they are.
yeah. I would say just like the bulk of death metal bands, if they're really good, they kind of just end up as a tech death band. Because why would you play regular death metal when you could play tech death? Because it's just a generally better genre. Like
Listen, I mean, look, we disagree on how diverse death metal is because I hear a lot of diversity, even in regular death metal. But I just think that the guys operating at the highest level are usually the tech death guys, with a few exceptions.
all right, so I think we've exhausted tech death, so
Yes.
we can put tech death in A tier. I
So
don't think there's any disagreement there.
right. All right.
So the next genre on here looks to be first wave of black metal.
Yes, I'm gonna go with C tier. I think there are three giants in first wave of black metal, right? There's Celtic Frost slash Hellhammer,
Yeah,
Bathory, and there's Merciful Fate.
Merciful Fate.
And then
Yeah,
outside of
those three
them,
bands are great.
those three bands are great, but everything outside of that is pretty much just ite at best.
Well, hold on, we need to note Venom, because Venom's really important.
Venom is important. Venom's not good. I don't like Venom. I don't.
So
And beyond me personally not liking Venom, Venom is not just that high in quality musically speaking. They're fun, but they're kind of similar to Motorhead. Um, yeah. What were you
so
gonna say?
I think the key note here that change that pushes first wave of black metal so far away from uh S tier, because it's just, on paper, first wave of black metal kind of looks sort of like heavy metal, where it's got those titans at the top that make it so good, but like it's really just being carried by the titans. The difference is these titans are kind of inconsistent. Like Merciful Fate's first two albums and their EP is great, but Return of the Vampire, and anything that came after that, it's kind of eh. And then with Celtic Frost, they're great, but they're really raw, and the production's kind of rough. And they put out that one album, Cold Lake, ooh,
Yep.
and Venom again. Venom is very very fun, but they're very inconsistent.
Bathory were
And
always good when they were black metal.
yeah, but Bathory is just straight good pretty much all the time. But the
That's
issue
true.
with Bathory is production, which is something
That's
that
not an
matters.
issue.
If you're second wave black metal, it's not an issue for sure.
uh, laying the groundwork. No complaints with Bathory overall, honestly. But one,
These bands are examples of bands. These three particularly, that if we were ranking bands, they would be significantly higher.
yeah. But honestly, we did some preliminary discussions of what's going to go where and all that kind of stuff. And given that, my vote's in C tier, to be honest.
I can accept that,
Okay. So we're gonna
despite
move.
the goodness of Merciful Fate.
Yes. Besides that, we're gonna move first wave of black metal into C tier, and I enjoy first wave of black metal. Like I'm saying, don't get me wrong, but we want to have a nice curve here.
Yeah,
I
I
like.
listen to this a lot. So
Okay, power metal. Um, to me, power metal is actually kind of the way I feel about power metal is not that different from the way that I feel about first wave black metal. I know you feel different, but and I can understand that it's different if you um, are specifically into power metal. If you can tolerate bands that are high on the Manowar scale, then there's a lot more bands on it. It's also
the
much
man
wider, and
so
it's
the
also much wider than first wave of black metal.
as a person who really likes power metal is actually like got a really good curve going to it. Like it's a huge genre. First of all, it's immense. It could be one of the biggest on this list. And it's pretty evenly distributed between really, really good bands and terrible bands. Like there's power metal out there that's hot garbage. So it's very just all across the spectrum. You know, you have bands like Blind Guardian and Firewind and Halloween at the one end that are really good, and then towards the as you go a little further, you get like the more Manowar scaly bands like Sons of Metal and Sabaton, which are or Brothers of Metal rather, that are very popular among the diehard power metal fans, but anyone outside the genre would probably find it repugnant. And then
People
it
like
just, you know,
Sabaton. People
yeah,
outside of the power metal genre really like Sabaton.
that's fair. That's fair. And then you keep going and you get to, you know, more obscure bands and like the really good, way out there bands like Stradivarius, but like you only like them if you like power metal. And then you get some like garbage that's like no one really listens to but comes up on your recommended for you because you listen to power metal playlists. So I would say power metal probably sits in the middle of B tier. It's not C tier. It's definitely not A tier,
So
but
that
like
leaves B tier.
I think it sits in the middle of B tier, maybe the lower end.
Well, we're not ranking things within the tiers because I feel like that would just be too complicated and take too much time. But we'll go ahead and stuff it in B tier here.
Yeah, I mean, Blind Guardian and Halloween and Edguy and Firewind have contributed enough good music to really warrant putting that genre very highly. And it's close enough to traditional heavy metal that there's a lot of crossover. And you know, we also probably need to consider that Dio could be included in that genre too. And Dio's great.
Big debatable. I would not put Dio in power metal.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. Fans of power metal will frequently consider anything Dio did, regardless of what it was, as power metal. Dio's kind of the father of the genre.
All right.
You know, no one outside of power metal really thinks of it that way, but the insiders certainly do. And as me, a person who sits on the periphery, where like I listen to a lot of power metal bands, but like it's nowhere close to my favorite genre. You know, I can see where they're coming from. I play D&D with a lot of nerds, and they all listen to power metal, and they all think Dio's power metal. So
All right. So next up we have stoner metal, and we were arguing a little bit about doom metal before on stream. And I have realized that a lot of the doom metal bands I'm referencing would would actually fall into stoner metal. There are also doom metal bands, but there are stoner metal bands. And specifically, I mean Electric Wizard and Cathedral. And to be honest with you, they're carrying the genre completely. Stoner metal
look,
is
stoner metal is terrible, just
overall,
generally.
yeah. I mean, if you find your average stoner metal band, you can expect it to be bad, pretty terrible. However, however, Electric Wizard is absolutely carrying it, and so is Cathedral. Um,
So I'm not sure I'd put Cathedral in this bucket. I kind of more think of Cathedral closer to um uh doom metal, but Electric Wizard certainly is here because you know they play more songs about that have the essence of, hey, you know, we smoke a lot of pot, you know.
okay, but writing your songs about weed is not what makes them stoner metal or not.
No, I know. See a stapler go by.
And if it were, then Electric Wizard has like 2 or 3 stoner metal songs.
They have an album called Dope Throne.
Yes, but
That's enough, man.
the only song on it that references weed is Dope Throne.
Okay, so next question. Where does Corrosion of Conformity sit?
I'm pretty sure they were stoner metal for a time. Yeah, and also
Corrosion of
Caius.
Conformity is kind of weird. I don't care for Caius, but I like Corrosion of Conformity a lot.
On it, yeah. This,
I never knew where to put them. I had always thought they kind of fit between doom metal, stoner metal, and heavy metal.
I think
But
most stoner metal could also be considered doom metal.
yeah, well, stoner metal is kind of a subgenre of doom metal, is it not?
Yes,
So it's really hard to define. But you know, I think, you know, C or D tier is probably the right place.
I'm inclined to put it in C tier because of the strong carries from Electric Wizard and Cathedral. And
Sure, we can agree to that.
okay,
I personally would put it lower, but I can concede there. That's a concession I'm willing to make.
okie doke. So we've got stoner metal in C tier. Now let's go on to glam metal. Glam metal is trash. Um,
Yeah, glam metal goes in trash tier without a doubt, unequivocally.
is there anything redeeming in glam metal? Well, they actually write songs,
Yes.
so they're better than deathcore.
Hold on. So glam metal, the simple factor of glam metal is really straightforward. There are a few really good glam metal songs, and there's a bunch of garbage. Now, is Van Halen glam metal?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, how about Guns N' Roses?
Not really, and Guns N' Roses aren't good, so they wouldn't redeem it anyway.
Well, I'm not asking these are redeeming. I'm asking what bands are we. So for glam metal, this is your Motley Crue, your Poison, your Extreme, your Cinderella
Yeah,
bands your mom probably listened to when she had a really big hair and was high on cocaine.
yeah. Glam metal is worse than new metal.
So as far as glam metal goes, I think a couple of Motley Crue songs are kind of jams,
I
but
can see it.
they're just jams. That's it. They're not great songs. They're just like, I can fuck with Kickstart My Heart. You know, that's a cool riff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't even, I'm not paying close attention to glam metal, but I have heard, I think, a couple cool riffs out of Motley Crue every now and then. But overall,
Yeah, the closest thing to redeeming glam metal is Motley Crue. However, there's not much there.
yeah. So
It's not much.
solid trash tier. um,
Yeah, without a doubt.
Next we've got death doom metal, which it is a genre that I felt the need to distinguish between death and doom metal because it's just such a wide genre and it differs so much from normal death metal. However, it probably is a B tier, and I'm probably going to put those other two. We're probably going to wind up putting those other two in B tier anyway. So kind of futile to separate
I
it.
don't know. I think Death Doom can probably go a little lower. I mean, what are some great Death Doom bands you can think of? Because I
Asphyx,
can't.
My Dying Bride, uh, Autopsy Circus Severed Survival. Okay, let's continue. Catatonia, that's a band you love. Um,
I do like Catatonia, but here's my what I'm gonna say. I think we need to be a little more critical here. You can think of a few bands that are pretty good in this genre. However, are these bands as good as the bands carrying other bands in C tier? Like, I don't think they're as good as Electric Wizard, and they're sure as hell not as good as Celtic Frost and
Asphyx is as good as Electric
Bathory.
Wizard. Asphyx is as good as
Uh,
Electric Wizard,
but the
probably.
other bands aren't. And this is going for a person who really likes Catatonia. They're not as good as Merciful Fate. They're not as good as Bathory. They don't belong in that same tier.
That's
You
true.
know,
The
these bands
average,
aren't strong. These bands are good, but they're not strong enough to carry a genre that with about as much material. Like Death Doom probably has about as much material as First Wave of Black Metal, and First Wave of Black Metal's bad stuff and Death Doom's bad stuff is probably equally bad.
no,
But the
that's the
bands that are
difference. The,
the
the,
bands that are carrying these two genres, the black metal bands are better.
Okay, the black metal bands are better, but the black metal bands are also worse. Death Doom is very like towards the middle in terms of quality. There's so much solid Death Doom out there. Um,
But like, there's no great Death Doom out there. There's good Death Doom, but there's not great Death Doom. And I think any genre that's there's no great music, it belongs in
okay, hard
that tier.
disagree as far as what great is, but maybe you're using the word great in a more conservative fashion. Maybe.
I'm very conservative with what I use describe as great. Great, like Terminal Redux is great.
Okay, Terminal Redux is great. You mean like literal masterpieces?
Yes.
Okay, there's probably not a literal masterpiece in Death Doom that I can think of.
So let me define these tiers. So S tier is God tier. A tier is reserved for mostly great. B tier is it has great stuff, but there's also a lot of crap. C tier is there's a few like things that are very close to great, if not great, and the rest of it's pretty mediocre. D tier is a lot of good stuff, but nothing great.
Well,
You know,
all right. I guess we're gonna have to put it in C tier, but for the record, I like it a lot better than power metal.
I like I like Merciful Fate more than any black metal band, but that doesn't matter. Merciful Fate is still first wave black metal. First wave black metal is, and I'm talking about Merciful Fate's black metal stuff, not their heavy metal stuff.
But Merciful Fate also counts as heavy metal.
But Merciful Fate. So Melissa is heavy metal. Don't Break the Oath is first wave black metal. You know what I mean? So Don't Break the Oath, I like more than most power metal bands, except for probably Blind Guardian. Melissa is better than everything. Melissa's better than anything Motorhead has done.
Okay, so alternative metal.
Oh, and King Diamond's in heavy metal. I forgot about that. Yeah, King Diamond helps push King Diamond solo project. It's so good.
Okay, so alternative. Alternative is also being carried, and it's being carried by System of a Down and Alice in Chains. And Alice in Chains is also busy carrying grunge, so it's like Atlas
Oh,
here.
hold on. I want to be clear here. Alice in Chains should just stay in grunge. I think Alice in Chains is associated with the grunge movement well enough that they don't really feel at home in the alternative metal genre. Mostly
Okay.
because alternative metal kind of came after grunge, where Alice in Chains is coming up during grunge.
All right,
Grunge
all
was a
right,
snapshot in time.
all right. Fair enough, fair enough.
That's
Um,
why there's no grunge bands coming out now. There's only post grunge bands.
Fair enough. But they've also alternative metal. It's also got early Tool.
Yeah, but early like
Early
you're
Tool's
talking
not
about
as good as.
Undertow. You're
Yeah,
talking about
it's just not. It's
Undertow.
not that good. It's
Undertow
it's
isn't great.
it's fine.
Sober's a good song.
It's
Sober's a good
fine.
song.
Uh, but it's yeah, it's not great. Intolerance is the best song on Undertow in my opinion.
Yeah, so again, I think alternative metal, System of a Down, notwithstanding, because easily an A tier band.
Also,
Alternative metal probably is close to D tier, I think.
I would also probably put it in D tier, um, with some great stuff in there. Also,
Well, hold
Volume
on,
Three, the subliminal verses is great. Um,
Slipknot's going in here, isn't it? If Slipknot's in here, are we putting Slipknot alternative metal or new metal or death metal? Where are we putting Slipknot? Because
We're gonna put their first album in new metal, and their second album in death metal, and their third album in alternative metal, and their fourth album in thrash metal, and no one cares about anything past that.
well, hold on, their most recent album was actually pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, what genre is it? Alternative metal?
Everything that came after All
All
Hope
Hope
Is
Is
Gone
Gone?
is just All Hope Is Gone again.
Oh, okay. So more thrash metal, I guess.
I don't think All Hope Is Gone's a thrash metal record. Psychosocial
Yeah.
is not a thrash track, my dude.
Psychosocial is why that's a thrash song. Psychosocial is a slow thrash song.
And the rain killed us all. Can name one
Having a
thrash metal band
chorus
that's done
does
that.
having Metallica.
That's I don't know. I don't think that chorus is very thrash. And again, I'm in a thrash metal band that has choruses. That chorus is not a thrash metal chorus.
That's true, but the riff is pretty much something. It's Ride the Lightning. The riff is Ride the Lightning. The main riff is Ride the Lightning.
That's a hard sell, my friend.
I mean, realistically, yes, Metal Gear Liquid is saying groove metal, and it is more groove metal. But we didn't include groove metal here because groove metal is a snapshot, and basically groove metal is a thrash derivative style anyway.
Well, hold on. We definitely should include. I think groove metal is an oversight in our part. We definitely should include it because that also includes Devil Driver, Pantera.
Okay, well
You know,
we can't. Who cares
so
about Devil
groove metal
Driver?
won't
Who cares
groove metal
about
won't be
Devil
on the tier
Driver?
list.
Who cares about
I
Devil
I
Driver?
think they suck.
Listen, for the purposes of this tier list, why don't we just agree that Pantera is a thrash metal band?
Okay, fine.
And if Pantera is a thrash metal band, then Slipknot we're gonna put in thrash. You know what? Groove metal is sometimes called post thrash.
Well, hold on. What about Lamb of God? Lamb of God's groove
Lamb of
metal,
God
and
is
they.
metalcore for the purposes of this. Lamb of God is
Okay,
metalcore.
fine. Okay, fine.
So with that in mind, I still think alternative metal is D tier, even though
Yeah,
we've got some
despite
good stuff.
Slipknot.
Despite Slipknot, despite SOD, um, And despite not being bad overall, if I hear alternative metal, it's not like I automatically cringe and it's like, oh, it's going to be alternative metal. But it's just, there's not so many standouts.
Apart from Slipknot and System of a Down, I would agree with you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Next up, we got avant garde metal. Um,
All right. So I personally think this one didn't need to get included, but because like, couldn't every avant-garde metal band just kind of fall under progressive metal?
probably, actually. You have a
Okay, so
point.
we're just gonna skip avant-garde metal because
Well, we can't
what's an
skip it.
avant-garde metal
We,
band?
we, we can't skip it because then it'll be ugly. Maybe retrospectively I should have changed it, but we can't just skip it
All
because then
right,
it'll be
here's
ugly.
what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. Ready for this?
What?
We're gonna use the avant-garde metal image you put here, except instead of counting for avant-garde metal, it's
It's
gonna
gonna
count for
count for
groove
groove
metal.
metal.
Okay, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
So
So
avant-garde metal
groove
is groove
metal.
metal.
Okay. So groove metal is also D tier.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's done.
Let's just move on without comment. Groove metal is D tier. Um, Pantera is not that great. Um,
They have some great damn riffs though.
um, black metal. You seem to be on the fence about putting this in A tier. This is A
I
tier.
am I am in agreement. Regular black metal is in A tier, and the reason why it's pushed over from B tier to A tier is because despite the amount of sheer stupidity that comes out of this movement, the music that is really really good is on par with the legends in like thrash metal and even maybe heavy metal. Like Dissection, Emperor, Mayhem, those bands are putting out albums that are just as good as these classics. It's just less appealing to the wide array of true metal fans because of the shitty production and because of the extreme vocals or any combination of those things.
Yeah, but it's becoming bigger and bigger.
Well, it's the fastest growing genre. It's the second fastest growing genre of all time behind power metal. Power metal is the fastest growing genre of music. Period.
People are really liking Sabaton.
It's Sabaton is and Brothers of Metal are really pulling power metal to being one of the most
Well,
popular genres
Brothers
of
of
music on
Metal are
Spotify.
big. I had
They're
never heard of them before
huge.
you. I had never heard of them before you.
Well, you don't hang out with power metal people. I
No, I
do.
guess not. Who's power metal people?
My D&D friends,
Oh yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
my
D and
magic
D is
friends.
also growing very fast. So yes.
Go hang out in a comic book store, and you will run into someone who's really into Brothers of Metal.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Anyway, so black metal A tier. Honestly, we don't need to argue about this. It's clearly A tier. I almost think that like every metal tier list I've seen has put black metal in A tier.
I've seen a metal tier list that puts it in F tier. So
Oh, well, that person's an idiot. Um,
person is an idiot. Yes.
all right, death metal, and we've defanged it by taking out Teth Death. So I get you have before stream pummeled me into submission of putting it in B tier.
Yeah, I want to put it in C tier, to be honest with you. But I think let's argue about it. You want to put it in B tier, I want to put it in C
I
tier.
want to put it
Let's
in
argue.
A tier.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
um,
Nothing. So the bands that carry death metal are Cryptopsy, Morbid Angel, Early Death, and who am I forgetting?
Autopsy,
Give me
Dismember, Entombed. Asphyx is already we counted as Death Doom. So not Asphyx. Early Pestilence, Deicide, Incantation,
Deicide's
Immolation.
what we're gonna use. Deicide, Morbid Angel, and Early Death and Cryptopsy kind of carry death metal,
That is
but
not true.
they're not as good as the black metal bands. So here's what I'm going to say: no, the greatest stuff in death metal is not as good as the greatest stuff in tech death, and it's not as good as the greatest stuff in black metal. And the worst stuff in that genre is worse than both black metal and tech death. However, it's about on par with power metal for how great it can get versus to how bad it can get. So it's in B tier. There we go. That's the objective answer, despite my general distaste for traditional death metal.
To Dismember.
Dismember is mellow death.
Dismember is not Melodeath because they have melody in like 3 songs.
All the
Later,
Dismembered I've heard, I'd put in mellow death.
later Dismember is Melodeath, but certainly not early Dismember. Dismember is
We'll put early Dismembered in here, but we'll put later Dismembered, which is the better era of Dismembered, arguably, in mellow death.
okay. Yes, we can agree to that. But early Dismember is the superior Dismember.
That's because you for some reason despise mellow death.
I do.
Speaking of which, what's the next one?
The next one is folk metal. Folk metal goes in D tier.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff that comes out of folk metal. Like, Arcona is really fun. But again, folk metal to me is more fun music than it is great music. Like, if I want to have a party or something like that, you know, I'll reach for some folk metal. If I'm going to a Ren fair on the ride there, we're gonna listen to some Arcona.
Yeah.
But also fun fact, Arcona appeared in The Office.
People will say, "What about Allagash and Over?" And I will say that they are boring.
I will not. However, Turisas is fantastic, but despite Battle Metal being a great song, it doesn't pull them out.
How many times can you listen to some sort of 6/8 minor key riff that goes or something like that?
Well, it really depends on which assortment of folk instruments they bring into the music with it. How many combinations of that can you make? That kind of
It's
determines
just
how often you
it's
can listen to
so
it.
it's not the music. It's just the instrumentation. It's just how many. Okay, what we're gonna
It's
do?
fun.
We're
It's like pub music, you know.
what are we gonna do? We're gonna play the most simple, fun metal riffs, bunch of 6/8 minor key, straightforward riffs, and we're gonna do this over and over again. But we're gonna use different instruments. Here's a kazoo. Here's a hurdy-gurdy. Here's a.
Hold on, the hurdy-gurdy's badass.
I'm not saying a hurdy-gurdy is not badass. I'm saying that it does not.
I'm more inclined to like a band if they have a hurdy-gurdy.
I'm not saying a hurdy-gurdy is not badass. I am not objecting to the presence of hurdy-gurdy. I'm objecting to relying your music entirely on the fact that you have a hurdy-gurdy.
Well, look, I think the point to make here is folk metal is fun music. Folk metal is not great music. And fun music, while fun and you love it, you have to acknowledge that there's better stuff.
All right. Well, we're not really arguing here. We're agreeing because we both say it's D tier and basically for the same reason. Now let's actually argue because Mellow Death is D tier.
That's incorrect. Because Mellow Death, and I wore this shirt on purpose. I wore my At the Gates shirt on purpose. Mellow Death has produced some of the greatest music in heavy metal. And the Mellow Death bands that are great, yes, the Mellow Death bands that are great are better than anything that got put into D tier, B tier.
Um, no. What are you referring to? Slaughter of the Soul?
At the Gates' entire discography,
Except for
Amon
the early
Amarth's entire
discography, which is
discography.
basically tech death. Why do people not consider it tech death? By the way, it's totally tech death.
I don't know. I think it's both mellow death and tech death because there's tons of melody on the Red in the Sky is Ours. Like the best song on that album is Neverwhere, right? Neverwhere
Yes.
has so much melody on it.
Having melody
There's,
does not make mellow death. You need to have
but
you need to be melody basically most of the time.
I don't agree with that. I think you can have potato and still be mellow death. You can have tech and still be mellow death.
Sure,
And
you can
At the
have
Gates is
potato.
kind of always mellow death. And At the Gates set out to be a mellow death band.
Right, but
That's what
At
they
the
set
Gates
out to
is
be.
dominant. At the Gates is most of the time it is not potato. I mean, early At the Gates. Red in the Sky of Ours. Most of the time it is potato. It is like weird, eerie stuff. And then they have melody in maybe they have some melodic sections in 2/3 of songs, but it's not 2/3 of the album is melodic. Like maybe a quarter to a third of the album is melodic overall.
I still think it's fine to consider early at the gates Melodeath. I think most people probably would agree that, while it was leaned heavier on traditional death metal and tech death, it still could fit into the Melodeath bucket. It can be more than one thing, and I think early at the gates was definitely Melodeath along with other things. But as a whole, but we're looking at the gates as a whole, because I'm not willing to concede that the Red in the Sky is Ours. That the Gates is only a good album. It's not. It's a great album. But Slaughter of the Soul is a great album. Their most recent album was a banger. The most recent album was great.
Yeah, I still
To Drink from the Night itself is a phenomenal record. At War in Reality had some good moments, and
I,
the one with the Swarm on it was good.
I still have not heard the most recent At the Gates, so
It's
we
a good
gotta
album.
argue in the absence of that. But like, okay,
Now,
besides At the Gates, what's next?
Amon Amarth.
Amon Amarth is folk metal, basically. It's the same thing.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's not literally folk metal, but it's exactly what you're saying about folk metal applies to Amon Amarth.
No, Amon Amarth plays significantly more complicated music because folk metal pretty much uses almost exclusively power chords in their guitar riffs, whereas Amon Amarth plays pretty complicated guitar riffs if you actually sit down and try and play them. They sound
Uh-oh.
really simple sounding riffs
You
are
broke up
actually
for a
pretty
second.
complicated.
You broke up for a second, but I think we got the gist. They sound like they have pretty simple riffs, but they're actually pretty complicated.
Yeah, like
Um,
I know how to play a lot of Amon Amarth music, like Father of the Wolf, for example. It's off of their Deceiver of the Gods record. The main riff is da 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 da, but like it's not like just chugging on they play in B standard. You're not just chugging on the low B and playing on the A string to get that little melody bit. It's actually all in the cowboy chord area, and he's hitting while keeping that dun 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 dun, dun rhythm going. He's actually hitting four different strings to get that melody, which is pretty dang cool because it's a lot of string skipping
yes, that
to
does sound
me.
difficult, but difficult does
And
not.
they do a lot of really interesting things that you just don't think are interesting because it's melodic and it sounds simple, but it's way more interesting than anything in regular death. Amon Amarth is probably like my favorite death metal band
Anything
in
in
total.
regular depth. Okay, that's crazy talk. You're now
I
talking
don't
crazy.
agree, man. Amon Amarth is fantastic.
Than anything in regular depth.
I know you don't care for them, but Amon Amarth is great. Amon Amarth does one thing very well, and they do that thing exceptionally well.
All right. Well, I don't know how to begin to argue with you because it's.
It seems like I'm an idiot because I disagree with you.
No, I don't know how to begin to argue with you because I've listened to the entire At War with the Against the World album, and then like three other Amon Amarth songs, and I evaluated it based on that. Okay, and because I am not as into it, I don't know as in depth as you do. You know,
All right, so here's a question for you. What about Man Must Die? Because Man Must Die is totally mellow death, and they're really good.
you have a point. I feel like okay, Man Must Die is really difficult to classify. Honestly,
No,
the,
they're just straight mellow death.
the way Man Must Die feel to me is metalcore. Honestly.
No, not at all. I don't hear metalcore in them at all. Metalcore to me needs to have more genty, chuggy kind of riffs.
But even if I
Like,
admit Man Must Die, right? Okay, Man Must Die is not as good as System of a Down, for instance. And System of a Down are an alternative metal, and System
yeah,
of a Down.
but a Monomarth is better than System of a Down, and At the
I
Gates is better than System of a Down.
I don't even know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. I certainly so one album the only album I can go into detail into why it's trash because I've listened to it enough to know is Slaughter of the Soul because I used to like that album and then I listened to it closely. Um, but like
I listened to that album closely and love that album. I don't think it's bad. I think it's great in its simplicity. It's great in its minimalism.
I think it's to accomplish minimalism well, you have to not waste any time. You have to not waste anything that you have. And At the Gates wastes riffs. They have riffs that are just not good. They're just there to fill space. So if you have
I
filler,
don't think
but you're
so.
minimalistic, That's you're hitting low.
Hold on. I take issue with you saying there's filler on Slaughter of the Soul, and I'm gonna be honest, dude. You're really in the like extreme minority here. Slaughter of the Soul is generally regarded very well by most metal fans, including elitists.
I mean, it depends what level, of course, with anyone, but I gotta say, it's just I feel like most people, whether metalheads or not, are willing to look past. They're willing to stop listening after a few minutes and then tune back in and then start listening and then blah 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 and background. And if it works well as just background music, or if it has some qualities that they like a lot, they'll look past qualities that should properly like not be there at all. Um,
Okay, but I'm not that kind of person, and I'm saying it's good.
why is that riff there? And especially why is the bridge in Blinded by Fear there? Da
I don't.
da 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 da. What is accomplished by that?
It's cool.
It is
I
not
liked
cool.
that part.
Uh,
I like all of that. Yeah, you've described good riffs. That's not filler. That's good. Blinded by Fear is outright a good song, top to bottom. There's nothing wrong with Blinded by Fear. I'm
all
sorry.
right. So
If you
we.
wanted to say their riffs were simple because they're easy to play, fine. We can agree there. Their riffs are simple,
I don't have a
but
problem with
there
simple riffs.
there are no bad parts on Blinded by Fear.
There are all bad parts except for the intro and the main riff.
You're, I do not agree with you at all.
Again, I
That
don't think we're
album
going to
is
get anywhere
fantastic.
here. I don't think we're going to get anywhere here. So we both got to
Okay,
just
so
where
I
would you
want to
put
put
it?
it in B tier.
And
I want to
I
put it
want to
in
put
B
it in
tier with
D
Tyrone.
tier, so we'll put it in C tier.
We're putting it in the very front of C tier.
These aren't even ranked, but sure.
It's going in the front.
You can put it in the front for all I care because it's just it's not
It's
ranked.
going in the front.
Okay. Anyway, grunge less controversial. Grunge is D tier.
Grunge is trash.
Grunge is
There's one
trash.
good. There's one good grunge band, and Nirvana has a handful of good songs. But Alice in Chains is the good grunge band. This is the genre that birthed Pearl Jam.
Okay, Pearl Jam is bad, but Paul
They
is
are
good.
trash.
Okay, but Paul is good, and Soundgarden is fine,
Soundgarden is good. You were right.
and Paul is
But
good. You haven't heard them.
Pearl Jam is in this genre.
Okay, but we can't just say, "Oh, there's an awful band that Nick hates, so let's take down the entire genre." You know what's in heavy metal? Hailstorm. Oh, right. You think that Hailstorm is not
Hailstorm's
exciting?
not heavy metal, but you know what? I saw Hailstorm live, and you know what? They kicked ass.
You know who's in tech
So
death? Brain Drill. Have you ever heard Brain Drill?
I have not heard a brain drill.
Brain Drill are awful. Okay,
Well,
just put it.
here's the difference. Here's the difference. Hailstorm is not considered a legend of heavy metal. Hailstorm is considered a hard rock band. No one's heard of Brain Drill. No one's heard of Brain Drill. But you know what? Pearl Jam is considered in the top 4 bands in grunge. They're
Okay,
considered one of the greatest. And I'm sure in the chat, Metal Gear Liquid is fighting with us right now because he loves this band.
okay. You can hate Pearl Jam all you want, but don't trash the entire genre of grunge.
Creed.
Just for Creed is not even
Creed.
grunge. Creed is post grunge.
I don't know. I think Creed's grunge.
I don't think so. Um, they were past the movement. There's yeah.
Post grunge to me is like the Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters is the only good post grunge band.
This is true.
So post grunge to me, aside from Foo Fighters, means basically most butt rock.
Grunge can go in. I don't care. I just wanted to shit on grunge. Grunge can go in D tier, whatever.
You just wanted to
It's
shit on
trash.
Pearl Jam. That's all. Pearl Jam is trash, sure, but grunge is not trash. Grunge is C tier.
I'm go in D tier. It's still shitty though.
Thrash metal A tier.
S tier.
I see your
No,
point.
it has to go in A tier,
Well,
I
we
guess, right?
already agreed. Well, I think we already agreed. We said at
Yeah,
the beginning of this, we already agreed heavy metal will be the lone S tier.
yeah, yeah. So
So for
thrash
that
metal
reason,
is the absolute tippy top of A tier.
I think that you have a strong point there. So
Thrash metal is so the great things in thrash metal are better than everything in tech death and are better than everything in what other band we put in A tier? I'm
yes,
not looking
that's
at it.
true. The
Yeah,
only
I mean like Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer,
the only
and
thing
Testament.
yes, the only thing that would well, okay. I don't know. I don't think that anything Slayer ever did was better than Vislyset Taros, for instance. But I would say that
Megadeth,
yeah, Rust in
Megadeth.
Peace is probably yeah, Rust in Peace is
It's
probably
like
better.
the third best album of all time. I mean, come
Okay,
on.
sure. Um, the overall point here, though, the other thing about thrash, the only thing that you know what keeps thrash from being X tier? You know how we're going to justify that thrash is not S tier? There are so many well-regarded thrash bands that are just not good. So many of them. Just like
The
Pearl
problem
Jam. Just
it's
like
really
Grunge
easy to
Pearl
have a lot of bad bands trying to play thrash metal because thrash metal is kind of a very straightforward and well-defined genre, and you can write thrash metal riffs with with a lot of simplicity and you could just play a bunch of power chords and call yourself a thrash metal band, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, this is the genre that spawned Vector. This is the genre that spawned Power Trip. This is the genre that spawned Warbringer, a band we love to gush about. So you know
Yes.
what? So you know what? Thrash metal's at the top of A tier.
Okay. Well,
If
anyway.
anything, Terminal Redux and Rust in Peace puts it in A tier. These other everything else is just icing on the cake, pushing it to the top.
Terminal Redux and Rust in Peace. Not Master of Puppets. Terminal Redux. You heard it here first, folks.
Yes, I stand by what I said. Terminal Redux is better than anything Metallica has done, and I love Metallica. I was listening to Metallica all morning. My morning
Okay.
mix today was Metallica and John Philip Sousa. That was what I was listening to this
I'll,
morning.
I'll meet you halfway and say that Terminal Redux is better than anything Slayer ever
Well, that's just objectively true.
did.
I'll concede that what I've said is subjective, but I'm not conceding.
um, so grindcore. Um,
eh,
grindcore. I feel
eh.
like grindcore's either at the bottom of C tier or it's at the top of D tier.
Okay, hold on. More important question. Heart work. Is heart work grindcore? Is heart
No,
work
hard
Melodeath?
hard work is Melodeath. Early Carcass is grindcore.
All right, now here's the problem. If Heartwork is Melodeath, then I think Melodeath gets bumped up to B tier. Heartwork is great.
I was already accounting for hard work. Hard work is the
I was not. I forgot completely about Heartwork, and now I've remembered that Heartwork is Melodeath, and I'm willing to fight harder for Melodeath.
well, we've already done it. I'm not changing it. And hard work is
Fine.
hard work is hard work is the standout of Melodeath, in my opinion. Hard work is
That was not made by
absolutely
Amon Amarth or Adam Gates. Or Man Must Die.
okay. Man Must Die is also quite good. Hard work is
All right,
good. Man Must Die
Grindcore
is good.
isn't very good if Heartwork is not in it.
Yes, grindcore. It's got From Enslavement to Obliteration, which is pretty good, and then everything else is mostly a worse version of that album. Um,
Napalm Death has some moments.
and Anal Cunt is funny.
Anal Cunt is funny. This is true.
Um, so D tier,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah. Going D tier, right next to grunge.
it's higher quality than on average than grunge or alternative metal. However, nothing stands out in grindcore like the best stuff in alternative metal or grunge. Because the best thing in grindcore is Napalm Death from Enslavement to Obliteration. That's what you listen to if you want grindcore, honestly. Um,
Yeah,
if you're not like some weird grindcore fiend, which exists out there, but you just want to try grindcore and or you're just in a grindcore mood, the correct thing is From Enslavement to Obliteration, because that's as good as it gets.
I mean, Carcass's first few albums are pretty
Oh, that's
decent.
true. The Carcass's first few are also pretty decent. They're a different style of it
I
too.
think
So
Carcass is
that's true.
unequivocally good.
Carcass is always good.
I'm
There's
really
no
sad that wasn't great live, though.
there's
Sad.
Carcass have done a lot of great things and they've always been good. So yeah,
They're
Carcass. That's
vegans,
another.
though.
Carcass is another thing pulling up death metal because the reek of putrefaction.
Carcass is good. Carcass touches a bunch of genres. Let's
Yes,
just acknowledge Carcass is good.
yes, Carcass is good regardless of
And
what genre they
they
are.
need to put other things than just the most recent Carcass album on Spotify because I miss listening to Heartwork in the car.
Yes. All right. Funeral Doom. Um,
All right.
Funeral Doom.
So you need to explain what Funeral Doom is to the good people because I had to Google it.
You didn't. Okay. You would like Funeral Doom if you are listening to it in the background or trying to fall asleep to it or something like that. Funeral Doom
What's a
is
Funeral Doom band?
okay. So Funeral Doom is a highly atmospheric, long-winded style of doom metal where it's kind of just exaggerated doom in a lot of ways. They play extremely long riffs, often with synths involved, usually with
Are they
growling.
bluesy riffs?
No, they're not bluesy riffs generally. Um, Rather, it is minor key or dissonant atonal riffs. Lots of experimentation, extremely long songs. Um, it might
So does Draconian count as this?
I believe so. The best example of a great doom metal band is Skepticism. Skepticism have done some great stuff. Esoteric, Draconian, also good stuff in it, and of course, Therigotten, I can't pronounce it correctly, are one of the pioneering bands. Disembowelment, touch on it. Um, Funeral Doom is good and has some good stuff in it overall. Um, but I can't see it being on the same par as death metal or power metal. So I'm inclined, therefore, to put it in C tier.
Sure, sure, that's fine. I I
Um,
I can't, I can't name a variant of it.
okay,
So it looks
go
like all of
listen to
doom metal is
Storm
going to C
Crow Fleet by Go listen to Storm Crow Fleet by Skepticism. That is the best.
Storm. Hold on, it's called Stormcrow Fleet.
Yes, I believe so.
To anyone who plays Magic: The Gathering, I hope you're
Yes,
laughing.
we've had this conversation before, but you didn't listen to it. Yeah, you need to go listen to Skepticism because Stormcrow Fleet by Skepticism is an excellent album. And
Duly noted. Let's move on.
outside
I'm
of it,
hungry.
Funeral Doom is
I did
pretty
not
good.
eat lunch.
Okay, okay, we'll move on. Funeral Doom, funk metal, D tier.
Is this just Living Color? Are
It's
there any
Living
other bands
Color.
that fit in here?
Yeah, Rage Against the Machine, Mr. Bungle are both progressive and funk metal. Primus is bad.
Primus sucks, actually sucks, and I thought they were going to be great. I went and saw them open for Slayer, and you know what? I legitimately booed them.
The bands that we care about are Rage Against the Machine and Living Color.
But like they're not even very metal. I think they're a rap rock band because they don't have any distortion on their guitar. If you like listen to Tom Morello's guitar tone, he doesn't have any distortion on there.
Yeah, but
It's
it sounds
clean,
distorted. That's not what makes metal or not. What makes it metal or not is the riffs.
I guess. Sure, why not? Rage can go in there.
Yeah, so
D
honestly,
tier.
funk metal is kind of just a variant of alternative metal anyway.
I guess it's a slightly better variant of alternative metal, or slightly worse rather.
It's a more consistent.
But it's smaller.
Yes, exactly, because it's like a sub specification.
I like the dude from Living Color. He's got that immense pedal board. He's got like 7 of them in front of him. I love that. That's just so cool to me.
Yes. So I'm inclined to put Gent in trash with a single exception.
What is Meshuggah the exception?
Meshuggah's not Gent. Meshuggah's
Meshuggah's
proto-
Tech Death.
yeah, Meshuggah's the prototype for Gent, but Meshuggah's not the exception. The exception is
Meshuggah's
Animals as
Tech Death.
Leaders.
Animals as leaders is a good point.
However, I don't think that's enough to make up for the entire rest of the genre, which is overall just bad. There's
Periphery.
Yes, Periphery.
Periphery's in this genre.
Yes, Periphery.
Periphery's in this genre.
Periphery is like the definition of this genre, and there's
So
so much just stupid jumping and dun 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 dun
you know
dun.
what good came out of this genre though?
What?
Metal YouTubers. They're all gent people. All of them are nerdy. And there's a couple of good ones, particularly my personal favorite, a Canadian for some reason,
Stevie
Stevie
T.
T. Stevie T is the tits.
Okay, but
He is
how did he come
funny.
out of gent?
He's a gent guy.
He is a gent guy? I thought he was like a power metal guy overall.
Watch his early stuff. He's a gent guy.
Huh. Well, okay. So, animals as
He
leaders,
became a power metal
Meshuggah,
guy.
and good YouTubers aside, gent is bad, man. Gent is
Yeah.
not good.
Like my band set out to be the anti-periphery. That's how we came up with our style of like sort pseudo black thrash metal that's always fast.
Yes.
We were just trying to take what Periphery did. Let's do the opposite.
The thing about like gent is it's got the lack of songwriting and just randomness of deathcore, but at least it's more interesting than deathcore. It's easier to listen to than deathcore, and
What gent is it deathcore meets pop punk. Both bad genres,
but
but together
somehow
it's better
slightly
than both
better,
of them.
slightly better.
But somehow it's slightly better if you put them together.
Well, they've
Like,
got the progressive elements.
I'd much rather listen to Alpha from Periphery, which again, my band set out to be the anti-Periphery, than I would rather listen to any pop punk song unless it's maybe like one of the really catchy songs from Green Day or My Chemical Romance. They'll stick in your
Yes.
head for a week because you can put that on when you have a girlfriend around and it won't offend them,
Gotcha.
and it's like remotely tolerable in comparison to other stuff. And then,
I mean, don't get me on my wrong side. I like American Idiot and Welcome to the Black Parade. That's it.
those songs will stick in your head a little while, and they're not annoying like some pop punk.
I meant the albums,
Oh,
but yeah. But Blink 182 is awful. Blink 182 is just awful.
how did that band get famous? What the hell happened, world? What in God's name? The guy pretends to talk like a British person.
That's kind of stupid.
He
Anyway,
is not. I don't think they're American, right?
yeah, definitely. They're
Why the hell is their singer pretending to be English? He should say they're singing in a British accent. British people don't do that. British people lose their accent when they sing.
Oh, wow.
What the fuck?
Anyway,
Blink 182, you guys suck. I hate you.
digression about how bad Blink 182 is. Gent is trash. It's probably at the top of the trash heap, but it's trash.
I don't know. I can find more good Motley Crue songs than I can find good Periphery songs.
Yes.
And Periphery is probably the best gent
Periphery
band.
is not the best gent band.
Who is?
Animals as leaders.
I guess. Yeah, true. Okay, fine. I'll concede to that. I'd rather listen to Animals as Leaders than I would most Motley Crue songs, except for Kickstart My Heart.
Okay. So, gothic metal.
Eh.
I like gothic metal. I want to put it in C tier.
What are some gothic metal bands?
My Dying Bride, Type O Negative.
Oh,
later
Type O is
Catatonia-
cool.
Later Catatonia. What else have we got here?
Yeah, I like Type O.
Damn, I'm having a mental block. Nightwish is sometimes gothic metal.
Oh, never mind. Nightwish is cool. I just lost all my last elitist cred I had is down the river. I like Nightwish. That's the rest of my elitist cred.
Yeah. Hold on. I need to jog my memory and come up with more gothic metal bands here right now because that is a pathetic list.
I'm happy to put that where it was.
I'm definitely going to put it there, but I just want to list more bands than that before.
Low C tier, high D tier would be fine.
Gothic metal is nice overall. I like the feeling.
Type O and Nightwish carry it.
You haven't heard anything besides Type O and Nightwish.
Yeah, those are good.
Okay, but
I imagine
how do you know that they're carrying it? I'm sure a
Well, hold
lot of
on.
it is
I
trash.
listen to Catatonia.
My Dying Bride is great. Paradise Lost, that's another one. Okay, we've got a strong negative with Cradle of Filth, but we've got No
Ugh.
Wish. We've got another strong negative with him. So there's some
Isn't Therion in this genre too?
later Therion, yes. Early
Ugh.
Therion is like Swedish Death, though.
Therion, no good.
Early Therion is great. Um, anyway, it's going in C tier. I feel.
Yeah, we can put that there.
Yes. So
Your goths can do that.
yes. Um, Viking metal. It's a very narrow genre, um,
So
and it's usually pretty good, but it's very narrow.
here's the thing we wanted to clarify here. Most people think Viking metal, they think of Monomarth for
Amon
some
Amarth is
stupid
not
reason.
Viking metal.
Yeah, Monomarth doesn't sing. They sing about Vikings, but they're not Viking metal. Viking metal is a lot closer to black metal than it is to melodeath. So yeah, what are some real Viking metal bands, Pat?
Bathory enslaved in Safarium, I believe. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Windier to a
I
certain
thought it was
extent,
in Seafram. I thought it was in Seafram. I
maybe.
pronounce it.
Tyr, I think, is another one.
Oh, Tyr's a lot of fun. Tyr's closer to power metal.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong about Tyr. Um,
Tyr doesn't have heated vocals. They're just clean vocals.
gotcha. But yeah, I mean, it was a style established by Bathory, very much continued by Enslaved, and yeah,
Enslaved is so good.
both of
They're a
those
great band.
both of those are solid bands. So we're
And later Enslaved, they turn into this weird, like, pseudo atmospheric prog metal band, and they're great.
So what's your vote for Viking metal?
C tier's fine. I'd put it towards the middle of C tier.
I would also put it
I'd
basically
put it
at the same
above
place.
stoner metal.
Well, listen, I have not been ranking these.
Oh, I'm totally ranking them within the tiers, and I think we should do that.
All right, all right. Well,
So
that's going to cause way more fighting. Um,
let's put them in the tiers, and then we'll organize them.
oh, geez, that's going to cause a lot of fighting. So industrial metal. Industrial metal, I guess, would probably wind up being D tier. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but nothing has strongly emerged from industrial metal.
Just Rammstein, really.
Yeah, but Rammstein's not even good except live.
They've got some really fun moments, dude. Like I know Rammstein's really simple, but Rammstein's a hell of a lot of fun. I fuck with their music all the time. I listen to Rammstein regularly. I don't
Anyway,
have a problem with them.
anyway, um, it's definitely not carried as hard as System of a Down carries alternative metal, so it's got to be D tier.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um,
Rammstein being the outstanding band from the genre.
okay,
I would even say you could put it at the bottom of D tier.
yes, okay, metalcore, clearly D tier. If we have these criterion.
Yeah, metalcore is D tier. Towards the middle of D tier. It's closer to alternative metal, I would say. Above groove metal for sure.
You made this curve weird because now D tier is the most populated part of the curve, and that's kind
Well, don't worry.
of.
We've got some bangers coming up.
But metalcore is D tier. Metalcore is also pretty much carried. It's carried by Killswitch Engage, first of all. Um,
Mutiny Within.
Mutiny Within also. Um, I I argue Avenged Sevenfold's second album, Waking the Fallen, is absolutely awesome.
And I re-listened to it and was like, why? I don't understand, but that's fine.
Okay.
Lamb of God appeals to a lot of people, and apparently we're putting them in here.
Yeah, but Lamb of God is not good.
I know, I've seen them live. They're
Just
not good.
objectively, Lamb of God is not good.
Okay, does Code Orange fit in here? Does Converge fit in here?
No. That's a different thing entirely. We're not even.
So that's metallic hardcore.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're gonna say. That's metallic hardcore, which is most
Converge is
hardcore.
pretty good.
Most hardcore is metallic hardcore. Yeah, you like hardcore. This is cool. You would have
Okay,
fun at a hardcore show. You would enjoy
probably.
watching like Power Trip and Code Orange and yeah.
Power Trip's not a hardcore band. Power
Yes,
Trip
but
is a
they
thrash
play hard.
metal band.
We just talked about this though.
I
You
know.
said it's a
I know.
hardcore band. You agreed with me. It's a hardcore band, but they only play thrash metal parts, which are frequently in hardcore. And then they make them into like thrash metal songs. But it's a hardcore band playing thrash metal songs.
Yeah, that's fine. We can
The
accept that.
end is hardcore. The point
All
of
right.
this is to
So
play a hardcore show.
either
Um,
way, let's move on so we can order these things. Progressive metal. Progressive metal goes in A tier.
Progressive metal, yeah, goes in A tier. You know what's better than the entire rest of progressive metal though? Tech death. Seriously. I mean, Tool seriously carries it. But disregard Tool. What bands are better than like Gojira, Cynic, Atheist, Mid Death? You know,
Symphony X is pretty great.
Symphony X is
But
not as good
they're
as
not.
Gojira.
No, they're not.
Like
I
seriously,
I
I think
remember. I
Tech
remember
Death
the
is
first
better than the
episode.
entire rest of progressive metal.
Let's just make a note. The first episode, when we were doing our favorite albums the last 10 years, I threw out a Gojira album, and you said Gojira wasn't good. Now you're here saying Gojira's great because you know what they are, and I was right. I was right. Gojira is phenomenal. The dirty Frenchmen who scream about whales, I love them.
Yes. Well,
It's great.
Gojira's great. Atheist is still better, but we're going to disagree about that. Atheist is better than Symphony X, though. You can surely agree with this.
Yes.
Exactly. Like, okay,
Oh, hold on, hold on. Who else is in progressive metal? King's X is pretty good.
well, the best band in progressive metal is Voivod, and then
Um,
Tool.
No, it's Tool then Voivod. You're biased. It's Tool. Tool is a mile ahead of Voivod.
But okay, but here's the point. There's a power gap after Tool and Voivod.
Yes. Yes. Yes, this is true.
Which is
Then
so
it goes to
weird.
like
The
goes to
genre could
Symphony
be
X and
anything.
Dream
No, it goes to
Theater.
Mr. Bungle next, honestly.
Mr. Bungle, Symphony X, Dream Theater, those kind of bands. Later, Blind Guardian.
Yeah, Camelot.
Um,
But
yeah,
you're
and
not
like
that
Middle
too.
Camelot.
Mutiny Within counts, sort of, maybe.
Some, nah, not really.
But look, Tech Death is better than regular progressive metal.
Okay, so later Mastodon fits in here. I know you don't care for them, but like peak prog Mastodon was really good. It's not sludge metal, and like they stopped being sludge metal after their second album.
You also don't like Opeth, right?
Why would I like Opeth?
I don't know. You like Mastodon. to me,
Who likes
that's
Opeth?
to me,
I
Mastodon and Opeth are the same kind of music.
when I was a freshman in college, I thought Opeth was cool, and then I'm like, wait a minute, why don't I'm not? I don't actually like this.
I just like that it's progressive. Whoa, so
Eternal
great.
Rains Will Come is fun, but like that's what it is.
I like their like more folky stuff or
Well, that's what that
progressive rock
is.
times. That's cooler.
So
Um,
you know, Mastodon, despite using them as the example of a bad live band, their prog stuff is really cool. Like the Last Baron's a great track. It really stands out. So does Jaguar God, and I think that is kind of the bridge in the gap between Voivod and Tool, and then like Mr. Bungle.
yes. Ni Obliscaris. Have you heard them?
No,
They're like melodic black metal meets progressive metal, maybe a little bit of melodic death metal in there. Um, but like arguably they're tech death because they're melodic death and progressive metal. So it's hard to even say. But anyway, let's move on. New metal is trash. Um, obviously, it's got something. We talked about what was good in new metal before, so I feel like we don't want to repeat our entire episode where we discussed new metal and why it's overall trash. But there's a couple good things in it. Sorry, say that again.
I lost you entirely there. My bad.
Okay, I did too. New metal is
I think
trash, and we already had an
yeah,
episode about it.
but it's probably the best of the three.
It's yeah. I don't know. New metal or gent? We'll have to decide in a moment.
Disturbed.
Okay.
Disturbed is
Probably.
better than Periphery. I'd rather listen to the good Disturbed songs than the good Periphery songs. And then it has Slipknot's first album, which is really good. But I can't think of anything from Gent that I'd like to listen to more than that. So yeah, despite
Okay.
my hatred of new metal and Fred Durst and wanting to slice his face off, it's definitely the best of those three.
Anyway, sludge metal. Sludge metal is D tier. Personally, I do not like sludge metal at all. Um, maybe a couple Cough songs, but Cough is also stoner metal. Um,
Crowbar is fun.
I don't like Crowbar. but
Dude, I like one Crowbar song, but it's enough.
um, but I can't hate on it like the trash bands. Like it's not fair to sludge metal to put it in trash. So I vote D.
I actually think sludge metal is probably, yeah, it probably could be D tier. Sludge metal is pretty good. It's got, the, hold on, wait. It's got the first two Mastodon albums. It's got some Black Label Society. I mean, people would argue some Machine Head records are sludge metal.
They don't know what sludge metal is. What Machine Head records are supposed to be sludge metal?
Just the first one.
No, that's groove, dude. It's groove and thrash.
And okay, I mean, yeah, I think D tier's fine. Just the outtakes of sludge metal would be Remission and Leviathan by Mastodon, the track Planets Collide by Crowbar, and a handful of Black Label Society tracks. And let's be real here, Stillborn's a banger, and Ozzy sings on it. So
Yes, and also there's this one there's this one band that I listened to a couple times when I was in a really terrible mood that I can't remember the name of, but they're actually really good bad music. Oh, give me a second here. Uh,
still haven't eaten lunch, Patrick.
okay, well we'll move on. There's maybe some good sludge metal out there. Doom metal. Um,
How did this one end up being last? We've been fighting about doom metal all day.
well, something had to be last. Um,
Doom metal is B tier.
I guess since yes, I mean I can't put it above death metal, so we'll put it in B tier. Um,
There you go. Doom metal's B tier. It's got the first Ghost album. It's got Meliora, which are really good. It's got Electric Wizard, which is good. It's got Witchfinder General and what the fuck's the other one? Pagan Altar, which are really good. It's got some Candlemass stuff, and then
okay,
it's got a
it's
bunch of
got
trash.
Ningen Isu.
Oh, that's right. Ninganisu's in there.
It's got Pentagram.
Pentagram's pretty decent. I don't think they're great, but they're pretty decent.
Okay, it's got
What the hell is this thing you're holding?
Candlemass. This is two
What is this?
chopsticks and two chip clips. Yes.
And we were asking about my screwdriver.
Well, I also like to fiddle. You were the one who were asking about your screwdriver.
Well,
I know
yeah, I
I
guess.
like to fiddle with things.
Well, I've got my stapler, and you got your your whatever that is, your unholy idol.
Oh.
Okay, so we're gonna move on.
Oh,
Doom
Metal
metal is
Gear
pretty
Liquid
good.
says the Melvins. The Melvins is pretty good, so that's good for the sludge metal. But it's not better than System of a Down. And System of the Down, alternative metal is really the top of D tier. Just
Okay, so
because of System of
let's
a Down.
organize some. Let's go through and organize some of these. Let's
Yes.
start with
All right, let's start
let's
by
start with
organizing
S4,
S tier. What should be at the top of S tier?
heavy metal.
All right, what should be at the bottom of S tier?
Heavy metal.
All right, cool. We are agreed. So let's move on to A tier.
Thrash metal, tech death, black metal, prog metal. In that order.
Well, that's the order I had it in by default, and honestly, I think you're right. Yeah. Um, so
B
let's keep.
tier. Power metal, death metal, doom metal.
Okay, this is where I'm going to disagree because I would put death metal above power metal.
Blind Guardian. Blind Guardian beats everything death metal does. Everything in traditional death metal, except for some death.
Dismember.
Blind Guardian's better.
Uh, the middle period of Carcass.
Blind Guardian's better.
Blind Guardian might be better than most of these bands. No, you know what? Blind Guardian is not better than Cryptopsy. And Blind Guardian
Yes,
is
it
not better
is.
than Morbid Angel either.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Dude, I'm just gonna level with you. If Blind Guardian is not my number one most listened to band on Spotify this year, at the end of 2020, when I get my Wrapped thing, I'm gonna shit a brick because I've just been digging this band really hard ever since we did the power metal episode. Like I've refound them through that episode, and I've just been going crazy for them ever since. But like, can you really tell me that like power metal has more range than death metal? Like you can do
No,
so much more as
no,
one band.
no. Power metal has less range than death metal. Death metal has
No,
more range.
one band can do more things. So death metal, more bands can do more things, but most of the bands in death metal do one or two things. Whereas in power metal, you have room to expand as a band. You know, with death metal, the rules are too strict for what you can and can't do. In power metal, you can have a ballad. You can't have a ballad in death metal. A death metal ballad wouldn't be good.
They have death metal ballads, but without the vocals. They have instrumentals like that, like Brutality, for instance. Brutality's got it's. They're not ballads because they're
But
instrumentals.
Blind Guardian has that too. And you know what?
Okay.
Blind Guardian has ballads that aren't instrumentals. And you know what? Those are some of their best songs.
I think you
Like,
might be correct that there's more range for the individual bands, but there's more range in what different types of bands you can be in death metal. And
I mean,
also, there's more range in terms of what riffs you can have in death metal. Like,
oh,
there's just
I
more
don't
variety.
necessarily think about that. You know, with power metal, the only real constraint is you have a hard time going into the chromatic stuff. But as far as the types of riffs, there's a significantly less amount of tremolo picking in power metal. For
You
or
can
two
be a,
genres
you
defined by
can,
tremolo picking.
hold on. You can be a death metal band and never play tremolo picking ever, if you want. That's
You
totally
could be a
fine.
power you could be a power metal band and never tremolo pick ever. In fact, there are plenty that do that. But
Okay.
the cold hard fact is both of these genres are defined by tremolo picking.
I don't even think of death metal as defined by tremolo picking. There's plenty of bands that do tremolo picking, and I can think of bands that don't do picking. Plenty
But
of
like
them.
again, the stereotype is tremolo picking for both genres.
There's not very much tremolo picking in autopsy. There's
You're missing what I'm putting down, dude. Sure, you can come up with a million examples of bands that don't do that. I could do the same, but irrelevant. They're still that's what they think. They think people playing as fast as they can, or boom, 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 boom. You know,
that's one kind.
that could easily be a power metal riff, though.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it could be a power metal riff, man. Uh
You're
huh.
maybe misinterpreting my tones.
Yeah,
No, you have the idea that I was playing the same tone over and over again. I was doing chromatically downwards.
well, again, the only thing that power metal has behind on death metal is the fact that they have a hard time, not can't, hard time doing chromatic.
Okay, but chromatic has more possibilities inherent in it than any scale, by definition.
But that doesn't necessarily make it better.
I'm
In
not
fact,
saying
there's a
it's better. We were just talking about variety, not quality here for the second, for the time
but
being.
again,
That's what we were
I
talking
think
about.
I think the term power metal is more vague because like there's no types of power metal band. There's just power metal bands. There's like eras that were more popular than others, but like if you're a power metal band, you have a lot of freedom to just do whatever you want, and you're again more open to just doing all sorts of different things. Like you just get way, I think you get more out of a good power metal album than a good death metal album, and maybe that's just me.
I don't know. This is an impasse,
All
and
right, here's the
there's
here's the
no
agreement.
compromise.
They're
So,
both tied. They're
okay,
tied. Power metal and death metal are tied.
I guess power metal and death metal tried. That's fine. All right,
All
we
right.
will agree. Power metal and death metal are tied, and that feels strangely appropriate, to be honest. The
I agree
eternal
too.
conflict between the two sides, the two genders of metal.
So that would make doom metal the second genre in death in B
Yes,
here.
I feel sad leaving doom metal behind because I like doom metal, but yeah,
I like doom metal too, but we have to agree. All right,
yes.
so I've already conceded to you that by putting Melodeath in C tier, it has to be the first genre in C tier.
All right. Well, I guess we have to do that
Yep.
because I didn't
And
even
then
know we
first
were
up, the black
ranking them.
metal.
Yes, that's also correct. Now, I would probably put death doom metal higher than Viking metal. and so I would probably put it in third here.
I like Viking metal better than Death of Doom, but I could see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, I'll concede to that.
So Death Doom, Viking, then I think Gothic, Funeral Doom, and then Stoner.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay,
So
cool.
next genre, stoner, or not stoner, the next tier, alternative metal, probably the best in D tier, right?
Yes, alternative metal is the best in D tier, I would say.
Followed by metalcore, then folk metal,
That sounds mostly appropriate. Yes, I would say.
then then avant-garde groove metal,
Avant-garde groove metal. Yeah, I think that's true.
probably grunge.
No, industrial metal.
Oh yeah, I like Rammstein better than I like any grunge bands. So sure,
And I would put, yeah, okay, fine, grunge next. Then grindcore.
I would put sludge over funk metal.
Okay, well, we can put sludge over funk metal if grindcore's over sludge metal. How's that
That's
sound?
fine.
Okay,
I was agreeing to that.
so that order is alternative metal, metalcore, folk metal, groove metal, which is avant-garde metal for some reason, industrial metal, grunge, grindcore, sludge metal, and funk metal.
Wait, we forgot symphonic metal.
We did forget symphonic metal, but symphonic metal is just a modifier. There's nothing that's just a symphonic metal band that isn't one of these genres.
I would put it in C tier anyway.
Yeah, it's just sometimes symphonic elements get integrated well, and sometimes they do not.
So yeah, I mean, symphonic metal is is either tech death metal, power metal, or mellow death, right?
Or black
So
metal,
or
obviously.
black metal, yeah, that's right. But I want to forget about most of those because they're bad.
Except for Emperor.
I wouldn't consider Emperor symphonic metal. I would think of them as black metal with keyboards in it sometimes.
I think that the Emperor defined the symphonic black metal genre. And also
Okay.
Limbic Art is pretty decent. Um, and there are some other random ones in,
Flesh God's
symphonic black
fun.
metal. I was talking about symphonic black metal specifically.
Yeah, I just
Septic
wanted to.
Flesh is my pick for all of symphonic metal. Um, and there are symphonic death metal. But yeah.
I like Flesh God better, but Metallica and Megadeth.
Oh,
So,
yes, okay. So trash to
trash tier.
I guess okay, new metal versus gent. I'm a little no, I'm not sure. We've had this argument. New metal is gent
It's
glam metal.
it's new metal glam gent, right?
Yes. Okay. So what's the best in deathcore?
None of them. They're all at the bottom because it's terrible. So the order. So metal bands ranked worst. I'm sorry, metal genres ranked worst to best: deathcore, gent, glam metal, new
No, no,
metal,
no, no,
funk
no.
metal.
Glam is worse than gent.
I don't agree.
Animal
Kickstart My
leaders.
Heart's better than but like I'd rather listen to Kickstart My Heart, man. That one song's carrying it.
The one song is carrying the
One track
entire
carrying
genre.
the The only thing keeping it out of deathcore tier is Kickstart My Heart.
Yeah, but I could listen to the entire album of Animals. I could listen to Animals as Leader's entire discography if I wanted, and I
I
would
couldn't
be
do
fine.
that. That would be painful. I like a couple of Animals as Leader songs. I don't like them that much. I more
Uh,
just kind of love watching Tosin Abazi play guitar because his fingers contort in weird ways.
I feel like a couple good
You know what? You know what?
ideas.
Just for the technical prowess of
Yes,
gent
and
bands
Stevie T.
and Stevie T, Stevie T is better than Motley Crue.
so so
But Stevie
just
T also is in power metal, so Stevie T can fit into B tier. Remember, he did almost join Dragon
yes, but have you
Force.
heard Dread Machine?
What is Dread Machine?
Oh, you've got to hear Dread Machine, dude.
What is
Okay,
it?
I will show you it. It's a massive metal YouTuber collaboration song, and it's got
With
Stevie
Stevie
T in
T
it.
on it?
Yes, and he does a solo, and it is awesome, amazing solo.
I've seen Jared Dines' Shred collab that Stevie T is usually a part of.
Yes, Jared Dines is also in it, and so is Adam Neely. If you know who that is, he does.
I do.
Yes, so
Jared Dines is the well, not good Stevie T. The Chad Jared Dines and the Virgin Stevie T. That's what it is.
except the real virgin here is is Jared Dines. The real Chad is Stevie T.
That said, some of his videos can be pretty funny, but his music isn't good.
Jared Dines is the McDonald's of YouTube. Whenever we're there, I'm like,
Stevie T's Chick-fil-A.
yeah, exactly. Jared Dines is the McDonald's of YouTube. It's not like I don't listen to. It's not like I don't watch Jared Dines video, or I don't get any enjoyment from it. But it's like, why am I doing this to myself?
I could. It's really just because Stevie T doesn't put out enough material.
Yeah. So Jared Dines is the McDonald's of YouTube. Um,
Sure.
um. Anyway,
I just stapled my leg.
now continue. That was stupid.
I just stapled my leg.
um.
Okay, so next week we will not play with a stapler. We'll find a new thing to play with.
Right. But the order, anyway, is deathcore, glam metal, gent, new metal, funk metal, sludge metal, grindcore, grunge, industrial metal, groove metal, folk metal, metalcore, alternative metal, stoner metal, funeral doom, gothic metal, Viking metal, death doom, first wave of black metal, melodic death metal, doom metal, power metal, and death metal are tied. Um, progressive metal, black metal, technical death metal, thrash metal, and heavy metal.
Hold on, I'm doing some thinking. I don't think alternative metal is worse than stoner metal.
I do.
System of a Down's better than any stoner metal band.
Yes, that
And
is
they
correct.
themselves are quite the stoners.
Yes, System of a Down is better than any stoner metal band. That is true. However, stoner metal
Slipknot's first
has
album is too.
third album.
I'm sorry, third album, yeah.
Slipknot's third album. However, there are I can think of more good things in stoner metal besides just Electric Wizard and Cathedral, even though they overall are carrying it. Maybe they're carrying it a bit less hard than alternative metal is being carried by Slipknot and System of a Down, and mostly System of a Down. However, there's some solid stuff in stoner metal. It exists.
Okay, I guess we can sort of concede to that.
Um, and
But like, and all the good stuff in alternative metal is better than the good stuff in
System of a
uh
Down is better than any stoner metal band. Yes. And Volume 3, the Subliminal Verses, well, it's about as good as Dope Throne.
it's a little Duality is better than any on Dope Throne though.
Yes, that's
Duality is
true.
just a stand.
Duality itself is better than. Okay, Duality is an S tier song.
Duality is an S tier song. This is true.
So,
Duality is in the top 100.
yes, exactly. Anything in the top 100 is S tier. Um,
My dog just walked through the room.
yes. All right. So, that will, I believe, conclude our discussion of.
It was way less heated than I expected. I expected a
Yes.
much harder fight.
We mostly fought about mellow death. Listen, the other thing is you did the fighting before we were even on camera. There was so much
It was a pretty
fighting,
aggressive fighting prior to this.
dude. There was a lot of fighting you did before we were on camera to make this tier list, which is now skewed towards the bottom. So metal on average is just D tier. We hate metal, guys. By the way, we just don't
No,
like
it's
it. It's
just
a
that
D tier
it's just that
genre.
there's more good sub. Well, you also look at like the amount of bands in each genre. Like the bulk of bands are in A, B, S, and B through B. You know.
Yes, the bulk of bands. Well, actually, according to Metal, the bulk of bands are pretty much either black or death metal. Because everyone
Yes.
who listens to black or death metal is in a black or death metal band.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, we are in agreement. This list is objective. Metal is D tier. Um, dialectic D for dialectic chaos. Your favorite D tier metal podcast.
You know, one of the reasons why I think we should put alternative metal up a tier is because it would kind of even it out. You know.
Okay, if you want to put alternative metal in C tier, we can finally go back at the end of all this and put alternative metal in C tier. Fine,
All
that's
right,
cool.
we're putting it in C tier. Alternative
Okay,
metal has
alternative
been
metal is C
upgraded.
tier. Alternative
It was
metal has
carried
been
by
upgraded.
Duality and Chop Suey,
And aerials. And
and kind
also,
of like
you can't forget, Bring Me to Life.
I forgot. Damn it!
That's why it's in D tier. There was a reason.
Oh, God damn it! We've done it. We've done it. We can't change it.
We already changed it, so why not change
Ah!
it
Now it looks better. It's more even.
again? Well, now it's D and C tier for
Well,
dialectic
this means
and chaos.
the bulk of it is in the middle now.
Yeah, sure. But that still averages out to like a C minus. So metal is a C minus.
Well, hold on. Do we want to add other music genres on here? Because if we do, pretty much everything is below deathcore. Deathcore is the like worst of the best.
Deathcore is much worse than most music. Deathcore is. I would rather listen to country than deathcore. Deathcore is terrible.
Bluegrass, sure. Country, I'd probably rather listen to deathcore. Sadly, as sad
Jeez,
as it sounds.
that is sad.
So,
I would probably rather listen to glam metal than country, though.
of other genres of music, if we were adding other genres to this, I would put classical music in S tier,
Yes.
polka and rock and roll in A tier.
Okay, you are really biased towards polka. Polka is good, but it's not A tier.
Polka is great, dude. Okay, so folk music and bluegrass can go in B tier,
Folk music, including polka, yes.
as can jazz.
Jazz,
Um,
sure.
C tier. I don't know if we add anything. Dark ambient can go in C tier.
Dark ambient is B tier.
I disagree.
Actually,
Um,
we wouldn't even need to separate ambient from dark ambient. Ambient is just B tier music. Look, we can't do this because we'll go on forever. I'm gonna
so
keep it real with you.
then the below deathcore tier is
Yeah,
all the genres of
Chromcore.
rap, pop music.
Hey, that
Uh,
is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I despise rap.
Okay, well that's
I
like your opinion, man.
cannot cannot find a redeeming
This is
quality.
supposed to be objective, and the almost well not almost all, but a lot of rap is better than deathcore. A lot of
I
rap.
do not agree. I would rather listen to deathcore than any rap artist that's not Rage Against the Machine.
Okay, well I would rather listen to most rap artists than Slaughter of the Soul. So yeah,
What the hell's wrong with you? That's just masochistic. Why would you do that?
Denzel Curry is better than Amon Amarth. Fight me,
Who?
Denzel Curry. You know the
I'm not
meme that
listening to
goes.
anyone named Denzel Curry. I don't like Indian food. And Denzel's an ugly name.
Jeez, that's harsh. Denzel Curry is better than Amon Amarth. You heard it here, folks.
That's
Anyway,
incorrect.
we can't just go around ranking other genres because there's like an infinity of other genres, and it's getting way subjective, and we don't know enough. So,
Can we agree pop music is below deathcore?
yeah, yeah. Generally, pop music is worse than deathcore, and it's
And right now pop music is mostly rap. So
yes, pop music is worse than deathcore. It's pretty much the only thing that's worse than deathcore, except for maybe crunkcore, which is pop music meets deathcore. Crunkcore is the worst music in the world.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well, I guess that's the end.
yes, let's end this here because we
So next week, find out what random items Nick and Patrick will be fiddling with below the camera to keep ourselves entertained. Because who knows?
yes, and before then, be on guard for a special edition, which I recorded a few days ago with Nick, but I haven't released yet for whatever reason. But a supplementary dialectic in which we talk about D&D just for fun.
And also our hatred towards communists
Yes, communism is not good. I don't.
and my disdain towards Canada.
Yes, you have disdain for Canada, but Canada has
Justin
Voivod.
Trudeau in particular.
But Canada has Voivod.
Yeah, but it has Justin Trudeau.
All right. Well, anyway, we got to actually end the stream.
Okay, fine.
All right. So until next time, I am Patrick,
I'm Nick.
and this has been Dialectic Chaos.
I'm gonna go eat lunch.